You finished work hours ago. The room is dark. Everything is quiet. Your brain won't stop. The tension won't leave your shoulders. You feel tired, but not the kind that leads to sleep. This is a different kind of tired, and it's becoming your normal. This isn't just you. Across every age group, every profession, every country, people report the same thing. They can't fully relax. They can't fully recover. They feel permanently switched on. Burnout isn't just exhaustion. It's what happens when a biological system designed for short-term emergencies gets forced to run indefinitely. Stress isn't a feeling. It's a biological response system. When your brain perceives a threat, real or imagined, it activates a hormone cascade. Heart rate rises, blood flows to muscles, focus narrows. This system kept humans alive for hundreds of thousands of years. The problem isn't the system, it's the signal. The engine of the stress response is the HPA axis. Hypothalamus detects a threat, signals the pituitary, which signals the adrenals to release cortisol. Cortisol mobilizes energy and suppresses non-essential systems in seconds. In a healthy system, it shuts off equally fast. The problem begins when the shutoff breaks. In chronic stress, the shutoff degrades. The hypothalamus stops hearing the signal that says, enough. So cortisol stays elevated. Every system suppressed for the emergency stays suppressed. Digestion, immune function, sleep, memory, all deprioritized. Not for minutes, for months. Here's what makes chronic stress dangerous. It doesn't feel like an emergency. It just feels like life. The tension becomes background noise. The fatigue becomes your personality. But you're not describing who you are. You're describing a nervous system in emergency mode so long that emergency has become the default. Your brain cannot distinguish between a physical threat and a psychological one. A predator and a work email at 10 p.m. trigger the same HPA cascade. Your nervous system responds first and asks questions later. In a world where psychological threats never stop, this creates a system that almost never switches off. Chronic elevated cortisol remodels your biology. Memory shifts to short-term only. Immune function suppresses. The prefrontal cortex shrinks. Sleep disrupts. Cortisol and melatonin are antagonists. More of one means less of the other. The emergency suppresses everything not immediately necessary. Cortisol hijacks the default mode network, the system your brain uses when you're not focused on a task. Healthy default mode handles creativity and reflection. Stressed default mode replays threats, rehearses arguments, catastrophizes outcomes. You can't stop thinking about what's stressing you. That's not weakness. That's cortisol restructuring your thought patterns. Stress recovery requires 3 conditions: low cortisol, parasympathetic activation, and quality sleep. But chronic stress blocks all 3 simultaneously. Elevated cortisol prevents parasympathetic activation. Sympathetic dominance disrupts deep sleep. Poor sleep elevates morning cortisol. 3 systems, 3 blockages, 1 closed loop. Recovery requires conditions that chronic stress itself prevents. The cumulative biological cost of chronic stress has a name: allostatic overload. The body's adaptive capacity exhausts. Inflammation increases. Telomeres shorten faster. Cardiovascular risk rises. The hippocampus, and prefrontal cortex lose density and function. This isn't metaphor, it's measurable. This is what untreated chronic stress does to a human body. Allostatic overload shows up as seemingly disconnected symptoms, waking up already exhausted, getting sick more often, losing patience easily, forgetting things, feeling flat where you should feel something, unable to rest even when nothing is happening. These aren't personality problems. They're a system running on empty. One reframe. The rumination, the exhaustion, the inability to rest, these are a biological state, not a personal failing, not who you are, a state. States can change. The stress system dysregulated through experience. It regulates through targeted intervention, not by trying harder, by targeting the mechanisms keeping the loop running. The protocol doesn't fight the stress response. It gives the nervous system what it needs to complete the stress cycle, the all-clear signal chronic stress prevents from arriving. 5 interventions, 3 targets: HPA axis, autonomic nervous system, cortisol-sleep relationship. 1 goal: give the body conditions to switch off. The stress response has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Physical action completes the cycle. Running, fighting, resolution of threat. Modern psychological stress removes that physical completion. The nervous system never receives the all-clear. The fix: movement, not for fitness, as a biological completion signal. 20 to 30 minutes changes the biochemical conversation. The second intervention takes 90 seconds. The physiological sigh, 2 consecutive inhales through the nose, then a long, slow exhale through the mouth. The double inhale stretches the alveoli, stimulating the vagus nerve. The extended exhale activates the parasympathetic system immediately. The fastest real-time stress reduction mechanism confirmed by science. You can do it right now. The third intervention resets the cortisol rhythm. Within 30 minutes of waking, cortisol naturally peaks by 50%, your body's energy system. In a stressed state, this peak is blunted, causing morning fog and afternoon crashes. 2 inputs anchor it: morning light within 30 minutes of waking and delaying caffeine for 90 minutes. Both allow the natural peak to complete. The fourth intervention is the one most people skip: deliberate decompression, a daily transition from high to low activation, not stopping work, actively signaling the emergency is over. 10 to 20 minutes with no screens, no content, walking, slow breathing, quiet sitting. Scrolling doesn't count. It maintains sympathetic activation under the appearance of rest. Fifth, protect the sleep-cortisol relationship. No high-intensity exercise within 3 hours of sleep. No screens within an hour. Blue light suppresses melatonin. Consistent sleep and wake times, the most important input for cortisol rhythm. No phone for the first 30 minutes of waking. These aren't sleep hygiene tips. They are cortisol rhythm interventions. Week 1, the protocol feels effortful. Week 2, the physiological sigh produces noticeable shifts. Week 3, morning clarity improves. Emotional reactivity decreases. Week 4, rest starts to feel like rest. The nervous system is relearning what safe feels like. This isn't linear. Harder days will come, but the direction changes. Chronic stress isn't a character trait. It's a biological system in emergency mode. And emergency was never designed to be permanent. 5 interventions complete the cycle. Use the sigh. Anchor the cortisol rhythm. Decompress deliberately. Protect sleep architecture. The nervous system learns safety the same way it learned threat, through consistent biological experience. The next video covers why rest alone doesn't fix burnout. Subscribe.